I'm a psychologist and recently started working as a psychotherapist, and I also work in consulting. Everything I do is centered around people.
How are people connected here with your creativity?
As I'm used to meeting people of all sorts of different cultures with different worldviews, assumptions, ways of viewing the world. So there's nothing that I really consider normal or abnormal or expected or unexpected. So yeah, I think people in general are an open world for me, and I think that inspires creativity.
When you said you are painting a lot, is that about people right now?
Yeah, I would say so. It's interesting because I kind of think of them as something that, or someone that kind of comes to me more than I'm painting a particular type of person. So when I'm painting, I kind of meet them and they develop and they become whatever they're supposed to become as I paint them.
And these people, are they different or do they have something in common?
I think each one is pretty different. Very often I paint like nude figures. I think there's something just even more kind of human or raw about them when they're not hidden from view, but really brought to the surface. It's like I can really see them very clearly when I can see the quality of their body and their skin.
Do you know who they are? Do they have a personality? Or is it a body that you're fascinated with?
Each one of them has a different personality, and it's kind of developing once again in front of me. So it's almost like a relationship that I have that continues for a while. And towards the end of a painting, I'll sometimes feel that I'm really close to seeing them finally. So I don't really see them all that clearly before they really develop and grow into what they're meant to become. And I notice and I feel that they're becoming themselves and they're almost complete. And I'm not really sure where that's going. So very often I'm kind of understanding more about them and understanding their personality as I'm painting them and as they are becoming more themselves until I can really see them clearly.
Wow, that's really interesting. People just come to you and through your art, they're becoming more real. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, in a way it's a meeting taking place, and in a way my role in it is almost passive, which sounds strange because I'm the one actually creating the piece of art, but I'm not really thinking all that much. And of course I step away from a second and then I come back to it and I kind of sense, okay, well, I can work on this and I can work on that, but it's motivated by what feels right for this figure rather than I want it to look this way because that's the kind of pose that I want to paint, or this is what my painting should look like. It starts off with some image, but it kind of never becomes really what the image originally was.
So through the process, they just become more concrete of what it was supposed to be all along.
Yeah. And that's how I know that it's the right figure and it's finished when it feels complete and this is its true kind of essence of what it needs to look like.
So you said that people, they come to you and at the beginning they might be a little different than the end result. So how did they come to you? In what form? Is it intuitive? Do you feel it?
It can be a mix of different forms. Sometimes there's events that I go through or people that I meet, experiences that I have where I get a sense of a kind of symbol of the moment. Maybe there's like a kind of a way that I'm imagining myself in that moment, or somebody else, or in kind of like abstract figure that I don't know, like an imaginary person. A couple of times it's come from real life experiences where I want to capture figures in that moment as I experienced it, but not necessarily as myself. And at different time points, I'll have different images come to me, but they don't necessarily need to become paintings either. So there's a few paintings that I started on that felt like the figure doesn't want to emerge for whatever reason, whether it's just not the right time or I'm not sure about it. I've spent sometimes more than a year waiting for the figure to confidently want to emerge and given up, and that's okay. I think a lot of it is abstract, so there's a combination of elements, like I will maybe think about a feeling that I had at some specific moment in time, but also remember a story that I heard or read somewhere. And in this way, the paintings are almost like about subjects more than about people, because a person seems kind of singular, whereas I think of them as like a combination of different sensations and experiences and different objects around them. They are a subject. They contain a lot of different elements that make them who they are, which are not just their body or their appearance or their personality. It's also the environment that they're in, and that is a part of them as well. It's part of the sense of this figure, right? So they might be in water, they might be melting into the landscape, they might be turned to stone, they might have other people around them, they might be in movement, they might be still, they will have different feelings and emotions and messages, but they're in relationship with their own world, so they're an entire kind of world within themselves.
Yeah, what you're capturing is the whole sense of the being rather than what you would see in real life, I guess, what you would feel as well.
Yeah, and it can be an event as well, because it's movement, and you can see that maybe a change is taking place.
In real life, when you feel inspiration to paint a person that comes to you, what do you think are the feelings associated?
I think it tends to be kind of blank, foundational, kind of neutral state. I think the less I am maybe hyper-connected to different stimuli and like social media and lots of interaction with like the world and people and all the fun and exciting things that life has to offer, the more I find moments of quiet and peace, the more various things speak to me, and the more creative inspiration I have, and the more this kind of like creative spirit speaks to me. So very often that's when I'll leave some kind of impulse, which then turns into art or something that I want to create. It's like a moment where nothing is happening and I feel empty, and things begin to relax and loosen their typical kind of structure and way of working. You know, you kind of go through life and sometimes it's easy to fall into kind of like a chain of thinking and events and the way your day looks and what you're doing, and everything's just kind of from A to B. And when you allow yourself to slow down and disconnect from the kind of A to B and be in a space that's really open and receiving, new connections can form. And these are just new connections. I then am able to connect together little elements of maybe things that I've been going through in the past several months and things I've been thinking about and some feelings that might have been left over from something. And it's that spaciousness in an open kind of field where different images can come to me or various other kind of creative impulses. It's like something new is formed in my mind and something comes to me and I'm not really sitting there thinking about it. I don't brainstorm paintings. They don't come to me in intense moments. They come to me in very open, spacious, and blank moments.
Yeah, I guess when you're in this empty stillness, you're so open for these people to come and meet you.
Yeah, and I think in that sense, my art is kind of like an open to the unconscious, I think.
Elaborate a little bit on that.
So I think living and acting from this kind of passive place of waiting until something comes to you and then making it into reality is channeling the unconscious. So I think most people can relate to this experience. Maybe being forced to sit still for a couple of hours. Let's say you're stuck in traffic or your flight is delayed and your phone's dying and you have nothing to read. When you're in that really blank receiving state, you have things come to you, and it might be things from your childhood or things you'd forgotten about. You might have some interesting impulses, and some of those might be nice, some of those might be unwanted, but then you can choose to actually channel some of those, and then you're kind of in conversation with yourself because there's something that wants to come out. And when you let it come out, you might realize that actually this is what you needed right now. Maybe it's important to you actually to do this right now. So these figures, when they come to me, very often through the relationship with I might be processing some things that have been happening in my life, or I might connect some dots and realize that actually the figures represent some of those experiences of mine, or desires, or like wants, or dreams, or ideas, and they're like a combination of different things for me.
Wow, that's really interesting. So I guess you're just kind of allowing your unconscious mind to create itself in front of you in a way.
Yeah, and it's a very nice place to be, I think, living a very busy life. It's nice to allow my mind to just roam and myself to roam. And there are moments where I'll be kind of in flow, right? So I might be painting for like 5 to 8 hours.
Wow.
And in those 5 to 8 hours, I don't really have any thoughts, and it's not really active. I just know. I just look and I know the next step. I'm in conversation with the painting, and it's just obvious, and it comes to me. And sometimes I sense that something's random, and I'm just doing it. And then I realize later that, okay, this makes sense. This was about something in particular. I sometimes will just add to these figures and elements that kind of melt them into the environment, or that make them more structured, or that move them towards like a different type of surface that's like not really human. Like, as I said, they might be turning into stone all of a sudden, or melting into water. And that usually comes by sort of randomly. And it's a bit of like a risk impulse that I decide to take a lot of the time. But if I take it, then I make sure that it's something that I can commit to. And one of the challenges of that is committing to it means that the figure will drastically change, and maybe some image that I fell in love with to do with the figure has to change, and I have to let go of it because I'm realizing that's an artless expression.
I really like what you said, that you're just, from what it sounded like, just completely in the moment and so kind of in tune with the painting that you're able to just know what comes next, like what you said, turning into stone or melting into water, just having a conversation with it.
Yeah, and that's part of the conversation for me, is about like working through my own fantasies about the figure and how those need to change, or things that I need to let go of, because the conversation might be going one way, and I have like the figure that's like lying in the river, and at first he was lying in a field of grass, and his boundaries were whole, and he was resplendent and colorful, and actually he needed to flow somehow, and the water was always something that was necessary, but I didn't know how to work it in. And then when I started, I realized that there's a lot of kind of loss in making him less of the beautiful image that I thought he was, because he just wasn't complete in that. But I helped the figure become what it was meant to become.
So with you helping the figure with what it's meant to become, do you feel like this has helped you?
Yeah, I think so. There have been a couple of pieces of art that have really touched something in me. And I think especially painting people, it's easy to project other people on me, or even myself and my experiences onto them at different time points, in different ways. So, for example, when I was going through a period of illness, I was projecting a lot of my own thoughts about my body and about illness and about pain onto the painting, and working through it. I was almost like mending some of the painful parts, and also exploring, dissolving some things and opening them up, and even making points that, could represent pain beautiful. And this wasn't like intentional, and it wasn't one-sided. There's a lot of like different layers and possibilities in that. So even if there is like a wound in one of my figures, or something that looks like a cut or blood even, it's not really one thing ever. It always plays with meanings and boundaries, and it could be multiple things at the same time. That bruise could actually be a bit of sunburn, could be just the light from the sun or reflected off his fists, and something that looks like a really core wound and almost like a fracture could actually be the life force of the figure. And I like playing with those contrasts. So what excites me is the thinking about it as possibility. So having a fracture or a really deadly wound be presented as something actually maybe beautiful and maybe actually life-giving and not symbolizing death, I think really speaks to just how we can go through life, and some of our biggest pains, for example, can become a site of growth and development, and even like the core of what drives us in the future. And that's because we are subjects, and we don't relate to things just in like a two-dimensional way of like, here's me and my wound. It's here's me and my wound, and also look at all these other experiences that I've experienced as a subject of life that have become me as well. Experiences that I have had because of this wound. And maybe this has become something beautiful for me.
That is an amazing way to portray it in art, to show not just a two-dimensional reality, like infinite number of meanings behind just a scratch. Especially to describe your struggles with illnesses before, and how they have changed meaning for you in the end.
Yeah, and I've had that experience a few times, but I also don't want to make it about that, because it's more that I can sometimes project onto them and then have a kind of process with myself as I'm having a conversation with these figures. But ultimately they aren't me, and they're not about me. They have a life of their own, and some of them are completely foreign to me, actually, and even scary. So it's like really interesting, because I never really know what to expect with a figure, and in some ways they can be very foreign, scary, very, very different, sometimes difficult to relate to for me, but I really see them. And at the same time, for a moment, I can see myself in them, or somebody I know.
It sounds like it's not just you or your experience. It could be other people, other experiences that you haven't even felt yet. Do you feel like there's maybe anything else you would like to add before we finish up here?
Well, I really recommend to everyone to explore their creativity, and that doesn't have to necessarily be through like traditional kind of mediums of art. I really believe that everyone is a creator and everyone is an artist. That's what we do in life, right? Is we create things, we create our lives, we create physically things around us, and we create relationships. And I think we have so much creative potential inside of us, which I kind of see as the potential to change reality. And I really always try to encourage people to be in touch with that and to explore their own creativity, because I think in that you explore your own place in the world. And it can seem kind of abstract, but I think once you start doing creative work or any small creative acts kind of intentionally, you start exploring your relationship with how you change your life and how you create things in your life. And it can be a really good way to learn about yourself.